Today will be our diet update on how we're doing on our diet.
Yeah, so this video is basically going to go over how we are feeling on a day-to-day basis, kind of let you know how easy it is, how easy this diet is going for us, how hard this diet is going for us, how we feel internally about, like, are we, like, experiencing any issues from being on a diet, and that's definitely some things that people go through. Are we plateauing at all? How are we overall just doing? This is currently week 4 of our diet, prepping for the summer shredding series. This right here is my little brother. He's playing some Fortnite right now. But, you know, we're just posted down here in the gym.
Posted like a stop sign.
Like a stop sign. I really think this diet is going way better than the first time that I dieted. 1, I dieted way too long. 2, I experienced a lot of, like, issues with my diet. Like, I was just, like, my knees would ache. I would just, like, be starving all the time. Like, I just feel like the execution of the diet was not near as good as this diet here. I think there's some adaptability as far as, like, my body being used to it, because there were never really periods of time where I went into long-term cuts where I was, like, in a caloric deficit for long periods of time. And I think if you go into a caloric deficit and you've never really been in a caloric deficit, you might want to think about utilizing diet breaks on a weekly basis. And that way you have the ability to replenish some of your nutrients and hormonal levels and get them back on point, because it can definitely wreak havoc on your hormones going into a deficit, especially if your body's never been in a deficit and it is not used to being in a deficit. So I think that's one thing that I've done different. Now, even though I haven't taken any diet breaks just yet, last time I was in, like, a cut. I think I cut, like, 2 times so far. This is being my 3rd time. The first time I just, like, was intuitively cutting and just overall trying to lose weight, but I was doing it really slowly. And I really made that mistake because I was doing it way too slow. I also was not tracking. I was just trying to do things way too intuitively with not having enough experience with calories and the caloric densities, or I may be, like, on point at first, but as I went further and further through the process, I fell off with being as close to my calories as I thought I was actually at. But overall, this diet has felt really great to me. I am losing way more fat than what I expected. I'm like 10 pounds down already, and it's only been 4 weeks, and I've actually kind of quit tracking this past week my calories, and I don't want to completely neglect tracking calories because I don't want to get too far off, and I want to make sure I'm on point. I want to be able to look at the numbers and be able to confirm that my calories are on point. But I know I've been staying around the same calories because I eat the same things every day for the most part. I generally have consumed about 460 calories by the time I come home from work, which gives me about 1,000 calories to finish out the day. So I'll generally snack on something, and then I'll eat a big meal, and I'll snack on something, and then I'll eat a big meal. I'll eat a big meal, and then that'll be it for the day. So it's very simplistic on the way I go about doing it. I'm intermittent fasting right now, and intermittent fasting has been going great, but I don't stick to my intermittent fasting at a super, super tight schedule. I eat whenever I really want to eat. So, like, there's been a couple of days this week where I didn't truly intermittent fast. I went ahead and consumed, like, a protein shake at 8 a.m. Yeah, and a lot of that was because I worked out the night before, and I just wanted to make sure I had enough protein in my system to be able to build a little bit extra muscle if possible. But as far as this diet goes, like, I'm not feeling any aches at all. The hunger, I've not really felt hungry at all. I will say that the first few weeks the first, like, few days, I will say the first few days were kind of difficult, like the first 3 days, I would say. So even though I did not stay on top of intermittent fasting, I'm not really too concerned about that. I use intermittent fasting as my tool, so I can utilize it however I see fit. And a lot of times I feel like I don't need to use intermittent fasting that day. Like, say, for instance, like when I have a workout the day prior, a lot of times I wake up the next morning pretty damn hungry, so I'll have a protein shake just to make sure I keep my protein levels elevated so that if I do have the ability to build some muscle, I have the protein there to do so. Like I was saying, this diet, like, my hunger the first 3 days were like, they were difficult. And I'll be honest, like, I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this for like the next like 2, 3, 4, 5 months? But now it's like, that's the thing I love about intermittent fasting is it just eliminates like hunger addiction, and it really changes your relationship with food because, but yeah, that's the thing I love about intermittent fasting is it changes the relationship with you and food. Like, say for instance, now it's like I get hungry, I feel hungry feelings, but I can just like literally throw them out the window and be like, yeah, it's just hungry. I don't know. It's like, it's hard to explain like how you feel after you get rid of that like hunger addiction. Like when you're like addicted to food, which I definitely was before I go into intermittent fasting. Like after I leave a bulk, I'm definitely 110% addicted to food. And like I'm just like, dude, I gotta eat something. I gotta eat something. And when I eat my first meal, I'm like crashing it so fast. But it's like if you just like take things slower. And going through a few days of toughing it out, you will definitely be able to conquer that hunger addiction, and you'll no longer truly be addicted to food, especially doing intermittent fasting while in a deficit, because then you get comfortable with being hungry and you can understand what true hunger is. Because whenever you go from bulking to cutting, or if you just have never really been in a deficit, when you go into a deficit, your brain will almost trick you into thinking that you're way more hungry than what you are. And that is one thing that I've kind of experienced overall, is that sometimes when you do reach those really hungry states, even though I'm not addicted to foods anymore, yeah, you'll have cravings and your mind will actually try to play tricks on you. Like, it's literally like you have somebody else in your head trying to tell you, like, you need to eat, or all your muscles gonna deplete, or you need to eat, or like you're gonna start aching everywhere, and da 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 da, or like your mind will be like, oh, it won't hurt you too bad to eat a little bit more. And it's really weird because it's almost like a secondary thing in your head, like trying to tell you to eat and trying to like almost convince you that it's okay to eat. But if you fight past that, generally you will be okay. Also, there's other little things that we do. We use like hydroxycut or Cellucor HD, which are like fat loss pills. They do a pretty good job at being an appetite suppressant. Also, I'll drink stuff like Diet Mountain Dews just to put like flavor in my mouth. Just having some flavor in your mouth just makes it a lot easier to be able to be in a cut, and it kind of tricks your mind into thinking that you're able to eat. And that's a lot of what your overall hunger and drive for hunger is.
Victory Royale, guys.
My brother got excited. He's playing Fortnite over here. Just one with y'all. Duo.
Yep.
Sweet.
Second
duo.
Yeah, second duo one with him.
Second one you've won with him.
Yeah.
Dope. So I'm starting to feel like this video is getting a little bit rambly, and like I'm just not staying on topic. I generally just feel overall this diet's going great. Way better than it was the last time I dieted. Last time I was like having aches in my knees, and I still might get to that as I get to lower body fat percentages. But one thing I'm definitely doing now is I'm just now starting to do diet breaks where Saturday and Sunday I go back to maintenance calories, and that's just so I can refuel myself, balance out my hormones, and make sure that as I get lower body fat percentages, I don't end up with hormonal issues and metabolism issues. And I have plenty of time for this competition that I have coming up to be able to get to the leanness that I want to. And I'm trying to like think about how to execute that to stretch it out as long as possible, retain the most amount of muscle, not have hormonal issues, not have metabolism issues. So I'm utilizing these different tools to kind of play around with to try to not get in that state. Because a lot of times if you get into the state of your metabolism or hormones being messed up, then it's kind of hard to come out of that state. So if you can do some preventative things before you get in those type of states, that's the way to go. It's definitely way more beneficial than trying to recover from that, because if you go into one of those issues with the metabolism or the hormones, you could actually...
Family and Fit, motherfucker.
You could actually...
Family and Fit, he has 500 something subscribers.
If you have hormonal issues or metabolism issues, you might have to actually diet break for a whole entire week to recover from that, or start doing steroids. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do steroids. But
don't do those.
but in all seriousness, though, it's a lot harder to recover from one of those issues than it is to prevent it. So something you want to make sure that you do is make sure you're trying to prevent issues like that before they actually happen. And like I said, right now,
Yeah.
if I was to just cut as hard as I could until for my competition, I'd be ready like a month ahead of time, maybe even a month and a half ahead of time. And I don't want to be that lean and have to sustain that leanness for a month and a half, because it's just really not healthy, and it's not something that I want to do. And when you're in super low body fat percentages, it's a lot more likely that you're going to lose muscle mass. So I want to stay away from those. I want to stay away from those issues.
Yeah.
Another thing that I might implement, depending on how far along I've gotten with my overall body fat loss, is I'm thinking about actually going into a caloric surplus for a few weeks, maybe even a month, if I have the capability to. That really just depends on how lean I can get, how fast. I basically want to get like almost stage ready before I go back into the bulk. And then I want to go into the bulk for, like I said, a few weeks or whatever, just to try to gain any potentially lost muscle, because with muscle memory, you can actually gain muscle back that you lost within a month's period of time, a couple weeks period of time. You can gain muscle very, very rapidly whenever it's muscle memory, and you've had that amount of muscle before. So that's just going to help me bring back any muscle that I've lost during the cut. So I got some different tools that I'm planning on playing around with over this cut. I want to try to do these videos weekly if I possibly can, but it's going to be probably more like every other week. Who knows? I'm not really positive. Like I said in our last live stream video, we have some important news coming up. So those people on YouTube, we have really important news coming up. I'm not sure when we're going to drop that news, but it's something that's going to kind of alter the entire channel. It's going to take us off. We're going to be launching up out of here like spaceship rocket land. It's just going to overall help us get more content out and help us be here more for you guys, produce better quality content. I'm going to go ahead and let Ashley take the floor and kind of talk about her diet.
My diet is going good. I have lost 6 pounds throughout this whole diet, so that's good. My body fat percentage, it was like 25%, and now it's 13%. So I guess that's good. Some days I weigh myself and my weight fluctuates, but I mean that's gonna happen when you're cutting. So far my cut is doing good. About 2 weeks ago I was sick, so I really couldn't tell how the cut was going. I was really sick, so I haven't felt that hungry. So I fast until 11. I have no clue when I stop eating.
Yeah, like we don't keep a real strict eating window, and I think if you're using intermittent fasting for fat loss, you definitely shouldn't be keeping a very strict eating window, because it just defeats the purpose of utilizing it. You're utilizing it as a tool, and the major advantage of it is to go hungry in the beginning of the day, so that way at the end of the day you have a lot more calories to eat, especially for like people like more at home in the evening time. It's easy to like just overeat and overconsume in calories because you have a refrigerator right there and you can get right into it. Whereas when you're at work, it's a little bit more difficult to find food to eat, or have the time to eat, I shall say. So,
but sometimes I don't even eat all my calories.
So yeah, it's a really good idea to save your calories for the end of the day, especially if you have a lot of issues with eating some late night meals or whatever.
So yeah, so I save most of my calories for the night, but sometimes I tend to leave like 200 calories out per night, which is not really good because I probably need to be eating all my calories, but I don't, so I probably should work on that, right?
Yeah, and that's something to keep in mind. Like if you're under eating on your calories, sometimes that can cause issues as well, because that can cause those hormonal issues and metabolism issues like we mentioned before in this video. So that's something I've been really like talking about with her, is like you need to eat your calories. Like quit under eating every day, because like if you're too deep of a caloric deficit on a daily basis, then you can actually develop those hormonal and metabolism issues that will cause your fat to be stubborn to fall off. And something else that I want to mention before I forget is my overall workouts. I've noticed definitely my past few sessions have definitely been altered. Like I just overall do not feel like I have the ability to be super intense and be able to put in tons of volume. I'm definitely fatiguing way easier than what I was before. Like I'm doing like half the amount of volume, and I feel like I hit like double what my normal session is. And like I said, I can just feel it everywhere. I'm definitely getting to the point where I'm a lot leaner, but I just want to implement these diet breaks just to make sure that I'm not getting into those issues with the hormones and with the just go hit the cellular button on our channel, because we're posting other things that are just going to be overall helpful. We don't want to overload this video and just make it too compact, too long of a video. So we try to break these videos up a little bit into like our physique, poverty meal prep, which is going to go over some of the meals that we eat and some recipes.
That one's mine.
Yep, she's been taking over poverty meal prep for now. But yeah, we just try to break these things down. We don't want to make this video way too long. So make sure you're hitting that cellular button, because we got a lot of diet tricks and foods that we eat that just make things so much easier when it comes to dieting, and just makes it almost effortless. And that's what you need to focus on doing, is making this thing effortless, because why make it a struggle? Why make it difficult for you to go through this process and through this journey, especially if you're trying to make this a lifestyle change and something that you implement through the rest of your life. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you're hitting that cellular button and that notification bell, and hit that thumbsy up button, because we love you, and give us some love back. Catch y'all on the next one.